CBT News, the voice of the retail automotive industry.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick with CBT News. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Today we've got a special guest with us, Mr. Tom Maoli, who's the president and CEO of Celebrity Motor Cars. He's also the owner of 6 luxury dealerships in New Jersey. He's the host of his own show, Go Big or Go Home, on the iHeartRadio network. He's an entrepreneur. This guy knows what's going on in retail automotive. He's built his own empire of dealerships, and he's got his hand on the pulse of all things retail. So, Tom, once again, thank you so much for joining us here on CBT News.
Thanks for having me, Jim, and good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. But anyway, let's kind of jump right in here. Biden is, pushing for EVs, 500,000 charging stations across the country. And it looks like the industry is going EV. I mean, GM has come out with their commitment to go EV. So many other manufacturers, probably some of the ones that you handle there.
Yes.
What's your take on that? It's 3% of the industry, although it seems like the government and the OEMs don't know that, and they're shoving it down our throat. Are we going to be in trouble selling EVs?
Listen, I think that, the push is out there. Clearly, the incentives are going to be out there. Biden's putting the financial incentives out there for the manufacturers to get these EVs out there. But there's a big cost associated with that. Yeah. You have to get and I think I talked about this on Fox News a couple weeks ago. Infrastructure is going to be the issue. You have to have the charging stations out there. You have to be able to charge these vehicles. You have to be able to service these vehicles. And listen, look at what just happened in Texas. Yeah, the entire grid was down. What would it be if Texas didn't have, fossil fuel vehicles that ran on diesel or gasoline? Yeah. I mean, what are these people going to do? Where are they going to charge their vehicles? The infrastructure is not there yet. It has a long way to go. I understand the push, and clearly it's making an impact. But I think we're 5, if not 10 years out before we can see staggering numbers. I think it's going to be, you're going to see an immediate hit. It's going to be a slow migration. I don't think that the population and the people are ready for it yet. I don't think they trust it. It's interesting because I was on a phone with a very good friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and in New Jersey we had a major snowstorm. Yeah. And I said, what do you do if the infrastructure goes down and you can't charge your EV vehicle? He said, well, that's why I always have a gas vehicle also. So,
so the backup, right.
So now we have to have a backup. So, listen, an automobile's not cheap anymore. When I grew up, they were, $20,000 and $30,000. Now they're $100,000, for an automobile. You're going to have a backup automobile now because you can't charge it in case the grid goes down. There's a lot to be desired there, and we have a long way to go.
Yeah. Now, in some of these states, they're saying that the mandate would be 2035, which gives us 14 or 15 years to get things right. Do you think that in 15 years, though, that we will see the majority of vehicles that will be EVs being sold?
Listen, I think if you're looking 15 years out, clearly no one can predict that far out, but I think that's where it's going to go. But I have to tell you, watch out for hydrogen, because there's companies out there that are producing hydrogen vehicles and hydrogen trucks that are running on hydrogen fuel cell, much more efficient than EV, much easier to distribute the product and get these vehicles filled, much more cleaner and efficient. So if you look 15 years out, I say hydrogen leapfrogs electric. So you're going to have new technology coming into the marketplace. People are still going to have they're going to be in electric vehicles, and they're also going to be in fossil fuel, gasoline vehicles. I think 10, 15 years out, you will see a major shift in the market. I think 10 years out, we may be 20 to 25% electric vehicle. It's not going to be 100. Okay.
And a lot of these vehicles that are coming onto the market today, Lucid and obviously Tesla's out there already, and a number of other companies that are in the EV sector are selling their products directly to consumers, bypassing the franchise system. You're a free market guy and a very successful businessman, and I know that you probably feel as though, hey, let the market, go where it goes and let everybody do what they're going to do. What is your take on franchise laws? Should these companies be able to come in and sell their products directly to consumers different than the other manufacturers have to go through a franchise?
The answer is no. They should go through the franchise network. The franchise network has been set up. The system has already been set up. All of these states have laws in place. I was pretty instrumental in stopping Tesla in the state of New Jersey from opening additional points until they had certain saturation of electric vehicles in the marketplace, where you just can't open these points wherever you want. There's a franchise network that's already set up. There's laws in place against it, and I think ultimately Congress and the government has to step in and save the franchises. I mean, these are mom and pop business. We're not mom and pop business, but we're small businesses, and they need to be saved. And if they're gonna market directly, I don't think that they have the wherewithal to create the service network to service the consumer. That's the biggest issue. The consumer is the one that's going to pay the price here.
That's right. That's right. And, we just interviewed Jim Appleton of NJ Car. And,
Yes.
He's fighting the good fight, for dealers there in New Jersey and
Yes.
and really trying to take this deal on. And to your point, I know that you guys have made some inroads in that area in the past. But his concern is a valid one. And he said, the thing about it is that when there is a recall, you're not going to get manufacturers that are going to be so ready, willing, and able to bring all of these vehicles back in, do all of this work. That's where the franchise dealer network helps, right? I mean, it helps. It's about helping the consumer, not helping the manufacturer, right?
That's correct. And at the end of the day, the consumer is the one that's going to pay the price, like I said. I think ultimately, as electric expands, and we talked about the time frame, but as it expands, the government's going to put more regulations in place as to how they can distribute this product. There's going to be regulations. There are franchise laws in place. Companies like Lexus, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, they're not going to be able to go out and sell electric vehicles direct to the consumer. They're going to have to go through their franchise network. It's already being talked about in the dealer meetings. And, I think ultimately these other companies are going to have to go that way. I don't see them being able to build the infrastructure properly, fast enough to be able to support the consumer. And again, and then we talk about demand. And, by going through the franchise network, the issue of demand is not so important, because there is a cost to running these businesses, these dealerships. I mean, it's a lot of money to run a car dealership. You have 5 businesses in one. You have a parts business, you have a service business, you have a new and a used car business. What's going to happen? How are they going to do all this? What are they going to do with the used cars when there's too many miles on them? They're just going to take them back and crush them. I mean, there's a whole process that you have to go through that's already set up. They're going to have to go to the franchise model. It's coming.
Yeah. You believe that, huh? That's what's coming. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
Biden's trying to get this $1.9 trillion package, stimulus package, or relief through the House and the Senate, what have you. What is your take on that? Is that enough money? Is it too much money? Are we getting a little crazy on this? What's your take on that?
No, listen, I don't think it's enough. When you look at what's out there, it's a bloodbath. I mean, listen, we're blessed in the car business. The car business has been amazing. It's been the perfect storm for the retail automobile business.
Right.
People are getting on trains. They're not getting on airplanes. They're not getting on cruise ships. They're buying automobiles.
Right.
Inventory's down. The manufacturers cannot produce it fast enough because they can't get the parts fast enough because factories are down. Production's down, and it's really simple, economics 101.
Right.
It's supply and demand. The supply is down and the demand is up. So what happens? Margins are up. It's the perfect storm for the retail automobile owner like me that owns multiple franchises. It's wonderful. But the reality of it is it's not enough. When you look at restaurants and small businesses and mom and pop businesses that have been affected by the pandemic, by COVID-19, these people are annihilated. I mean, it's bad out there. And I have to tell you, I think that he'll get it through. And I think it's enough money, but I think that it has to go to the right place.
Yeah, for that, no question about it. I interviewed Mike Jackson just yesterday, and he felt as though obviously they had an incredible year in 2020. Their stock's at an all-time high, and they crushed it in terms of gross profits and such. And we talked a little bit about the OEMs, backing off, filling lots up once again after the COVID is beyond us. Do you think that that's a likelihood of the fact that OEMs may have learned something through this, that it just means good business, not just for the dealer and its bottom line, but also for the consumer? That we're not, giving car dealers 6 months worth of merchandise and bringing down, gross profits and just loading the these lots up.
I have to tell you, I think they've learned their lesson. I think, unfortunately, memories, we're United States consumers. We're all United States consumers. Our memories are short. 9/11 hit. It was a disaster. We forgot about it. The Lehman crash hit. We forget about it. We will forget about this. But I think they've learned their lesson. I think we're in a cycle here that's going to last at least 3, if not 5 years. I don't see inventories building up. I think at a minimum of 3 years. I think we're here. This is here to stay.
Yeah, for sure. I know we touched on this last time we met, and that was digital retailing. Some people now are changing that phrase to modern retailing.
Yes.
Where do you stand on that? Do you think customers will want to do a lot of the process of purchasing a vehicle online here in the future, or they're going to come back in the showrooms?
Listen, I think they're going to come back to the showrooms. It's already happening. But, it's one of the things about digital retailing that from the automobile business that most people don't understand and the manufacturers don't understand is that it's not a pair of shoes. It's not a sweater that you ordered off of Amazon where you could say, I got it, it didn't fit. I got the shoes, I don't like them. I'm going to ship them back and I'm going to get a credit on my credit card. Yeah. Once you push the button and make that purchase of a retail automobile through a dealership, or whether it be through an electric car company, which is where they're trying to sell direct now, you own it.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to come back to the showroom. They're going to want to sit in the vehicle. They're going to want to see it. They're going to want to test drive it. They're going to want to make sure that they're comfortable with it, because not only is it an expensive purchase, but you can't return it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a very good point. Luxury car sales are up. I mean, obviously the stock market is on fire. There's millions, if not billions of dollars being made by the rich in this country during these times, during these unfortunate times. The hardest hit are those people that are earning under $40,000 a year, clearly. You're a luxury car dealer. This is kind of the good stuff for you, right? Do you think that will continue well into 2021?
Oh, I think it's 21, 22, and like I said, it could be another 4 years of this. I think definitely 21 all the way into 22 at a minimum. This is the way it's going to be. It's a bonanza. I mean, it's unbelievable. Margins are up across the board. Yeah. Our service departments are busting at the seams. Everybody wants their car serviced. Listen, look at cruise lines and airlines. You go into the airport, there's no one in the airport.
I know.
But you could put your family in a car. You could take them to the mountains. You could take them skiing. You could take them to the lake in the summer. That's where people are headed. That's where their mindsets are now.
Yeah.
I think we're here to stay for a while.
Yeah, no question about it. Hey, talking about the service department just made me think about the EVs once again. There's a lot of dealers that are concerned that the EV revolution is going to hurt their fixed ops bottom line, in the sense that you don't have a combustion engine, it doesn't take as many parts, it doesn't take as much service to keep the vehicle on the road. Is that a concern of yours with the dealerships that you have, that you might turn around and say, oh, these guys are the Maytag repairmen sitting back here not having cars to work on?
It is. Listen, it is a little bit of a concern, but the reality of it is, if you look at cycles and you look at the business cycle of what we just talked about, where it's going to take 10 to 15 years to infiltrate this marketplace, and if we're right, which I think we are, it's, the units in operation continue to grow. Mm-hmm. Population is growing. Population is not going down. So as the population grows, you're gonna pick up some of that balance, because there's gonna be people buying combustible engine vehicles. Plus, the reality of it is who's trained to repair these EV cars? Do we know what it takes to repair them? No one knows yet. When the electronics start failing on them, it's going to cost a lot of money to fix them. And I think that there's still going to be a lot of money in fixed ops. It's just going to be shifted into a different section.
Sure. As you sit there today, president of Celebrity Motor Cars, what is your biggest concern? What do you think are the big challenges facing dealers that they should be concerned about for 2021 and beyond? I mean, other than the obvious, which is COVID-19 and getting that handled.
Yeah, well, listen, interest rates are a concern. We're going through a little bit of an interest rate bump right here. I think it's going to level out. I think it was an overreaction to a bond market that didn't sell well into the sale of the bonds. I think it's going to level out here. I think it's already leveling out today. Mm-hmm. It's going to come back down. Interest rates are not skyrocketing. The consumer's on its back. Mm-hmm. The Federal Reserve knows what they're doing. If they crush the consumer, the American economy is done.
Yeah.
Right? There is no GDP. There's no reason to manufacture vehicles. There's no reason to have warehouses. There's no reason to have anything. The consumer is where it's at. Yeah. They're not going to crush the consumer. Their interest rates are here to stay low. Yeah. They're going to keep it low so people can buy houses and cars and finance things. So I think that I think the consumer is going to be strong going into this process. And, listen, there's also a little bit of a different mentality that has happened since COVID. And it's, you know what? I'm not so sure that I want to wait 5 years to buy a car or 6 years to buy a car and keep mine glued together, because the reality of it is I don't know if I get COVID and I'm going to be around next year. So it's, there's a lot of people that are just out there treating themselves and trying to, living life.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Hey, you said houses and cars, and I know that you're very heavily involved in real estate and real estate development. How's your real estate business doing through all of this?
It's booming. Real estate is booming right now, yeah. Okay. It's interesting because, but again, another dynamic shift in the marketplace. Office space, I think, is annihilated. I think you're going to see office space as the vaccine gets out, people get back to work, 50, 60, 70% of that office space is going to get filled back up again. But there's a good 30% that it's not needed anymore. Yeah. People realize that, companies are realizing they don't need it. People can work from home. That's right. Office space is changing. Retail is changing because the retail shopping centers, people don't go out to the stores as much. So that market is changing a little bit, but housing is booming. Rental housing is booming. Residential housing is booming. People want houses. They want a place where their family can gather. Just like a vehicle, they want a car so they can take their family somewhere. It's actually doing very well.
Yeah, you got them from cradle to grave, don't you? If you had to pick one industry, and I know you know a lot about both. If you had to go autos or real estate, which one would it be?
They're all hitting on all cylinders right now. Interest rates are good. People are buying houses. They're out. The consumers are out spending, but what they're doing is they're spending on their families. That's where the focus is at.
Right.
It's on their families. Right. It's not buy a new watch. It's
all. Let's finish the basement. Let's put the pool in. Let's
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
No question about it. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I think, all of the indication, or I should say all the analysts that I speak to, and I think I speak to all of them here from CBT News, Edmunds and Cox Automotive and Cars.com and IHS and the rest of them, they're all coming in at about a 16.6, 16.7 SAR, as you know. I know it's early in the year, but man, that is phenomenal. Talk about a rebound. We didn't miss really much of anything, did we?
No, and add to it that our gross margins are up across the board.
That's the key. That's the key. That's right.
That's the key.
That's right. I haven't heard. Before COVID hit, we would speak about margin compression. Almost to the point that I think people shut us off. If they bring this up one more time, I have not heard those words together since last March because grosses have been good. So dealers are like, margin compression, not an issue. It might come back, but they're happy.
It's funny, I have to tell you, because obviously I'm a Mercedes-Benz dealer and I have a Mercedes-Benz dealership. But I got myself in one of the new AMG G-Wagons, which I love, by the way. They did an amazing job on it. But I have the thing. I got 1,000 miles on it, and my general manager called me last week. I was down in Florida, and he called me. He said, "You want to sell your G-Wagon?" I said, "No." He said, "Why?" He said, "I could get you $25,000 over what we paid for it." And I'm like,
God.
It's unbelievable.
Jesus Christ! And if you held that, you'd probably be taking it to 50.
Right. It's unreal.
And meanwhile, the salesperson's going, "I'm getting 20% of the gross. Get that guy out of that car."
Yes.
That's great. Well, Tom Maoli, President and CEO of Celebrity Motor Cars, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule there. And I know you're extremely busy. Hardest working man in retail, automotive and houses. So thanks so much for joining us. Our dealer viewers get so much out of your visit. So thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, keep up the good work. You guys are doing a great job. And, I go to dealer meetings and a lot of dealers talk about the network and I think you're bringing a lot to the table.
Good. Well, thank you so much for those kind words. Appreciate it. We'll keep it up.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching CBT News, the voice of the retail automotive industry. This is CBT News, the voice of the retail automotive industry. Subscribe today.